Welcome back to the DNX show, and today we're going to be talking about the Las Vegas finale, which was insane, but also the MXGP finale, which was even more insane. And with me today, we got the boy Scott Meshy once again. Scott, how you doing?
Doing good, man. What an awesome weekend to be a race fan. Like that was absolutely incredible. Like every single race, I think, in my opinion, was worth the watch. And there's a lot of weekends that there's some races it's like, it's kind of same old, but like not this one. This one was awesome.
I think maybe the best race weekend of the entire year, maybe the last couple of years.
Yeah, I would say that this one was probably the most action-packed that I can really remember. I mean, I'm sure that there was some really awesome races this year, but like, man, like SMX as far as like racing and drama delivered. And MXGP, like, man, like somehow every single minute of those races was worth watching. Like there was no part of it that made you want to fall asleep.
100% agree. And we'll get into everything, right? We got the Jett Lawrence versus Hunter Lawrence, a little, not necessarily drama, but brother on brother there at the very finale or the very end of Moto 2. We got to talk about the Deegan situation with Joe. We will get to that here in eventually. And then, yeah, like he's mentioned, MXGP. It ended on a red flag, and it also got called afterwards. So much to talk about for that. But first, I want to kind of start with the track and the track layout. We talked about this a little bit on our prediction show, but now after watching the racing, watching qualifying, I can 1000% say that drag strip tracks are trash and we should never go back to drag strip tracks. Like don't get me wrong, they're a cool facility. They're like awesome environment. The layout are awful. Okay. First off, in that track, after the finish, it was all one line, like literally all one line. We did see some passes. Okay. But we also saw Deegan laying on top of Rider D because it was so jam packed. Yeah. We'll get to that. But for you, Scott, like after watching it, would you say that this is possibly the worst track for the entire year?
Oh, man, that's hard to say. I will say it definitely was not my favorite. Um, I don't know, man. I feel like there's like such a I understand that the drag strip format is really hard to build a track around. I feel like they've run into quite a few different problems. I mean, obviously, a major problem that you run into in Supercross is eventually ruts get deep enough and you get down to the plywood. Now, I don't know if they were running into that type of problem that they are getting down to the macadam in other rounds before, but it's certainly really interesting how they chose to make the track so insanely tight and so I mean, I would definitely say one-lined. Now, granted, there was definitely times where guys could open up the turns and stuff like that, but man, it just feels like it was so like the insides were just dominant in almost every single corner. There were a few outside lines that were really good, but I mean, like you said, with Rider D getting landed on, like, man, that's not really in that type of like corner. Like, I don't think that that really happens like in too many other scenarios. I also feel like, what was it last year or year prior when RJ crashed and hit the cement? I don't know what you want to call it, like the cement barrier that's there in Charlotte. Like, there's issues when you're dealing with a drag strip format type of, well, just building a track on a drag strip, just period. Um, and I feel like last year for the finale, where they were like, when they were doing the tight 90s and then the 180s when they were doubling and stuff like that, that was better. And it did make for good racing. And yeah, technically it was one lined in that way too. But man, it just really was disappointing, like how tight that it got. It just I get the want for variety, but I was definitely more of a fan of the track layout that they gave beforehand. And you and I talked a little bit about it over text, but the changes between the track layout that they showed versus what they ended up doing, and then them saying about the track being more, more raceable or less one lined. I don't know. I just don't really know that that is really how it panned out. Now, I wasn't there. I can't testify to that as a person on the bike, but that's just what it looked like.
Yeah, 100%. And for me watching visually, we did see some passes in the tight section, like the on off, like, and that was granted with Deegan opening up the corner and going on. And I feel there was only really passes there when a guy made a mistake. And now that is part of racing, 100%, right? But I feel they could have opened up that entire section a little bit better instead of making it like super tight, like 90s, right? Going or like 180s up and then 90s. I don't know. They could have just done it a little bit better. And even the outdoor section, we saw a few passes with going outside to outside before the rollers. And then we saw Jett absolutely sending it, and Deegan too on the ski jump before the tabletop going down and setting up a pass there.
Cool. That was cool.
Yeah, that was epic by Jett, by the way, outside, and Deegan from the inside. So that was sick. Just overall, it felt, especially when you got into by the start and by the finish, it just felt everybody was kind of following each other. Now, it did provide some great moments, I will say. For example, it provided the Deegan and Joe situation, right? It also provided some awesome setup passes by Jett on Tomac before the finish line. So that was pretty sick. Overall, for me, I'm not a fan of drag strips. I don't like the track. I don't even like Charlotte. I think Charlotte was trash too. And I think they need to go to like speedways. My boy Mix has been saying they need to go to like Bristol, which I think would be kind of cool in the infield, and maybe even put it up on like the bank, you know, like a section on the bank. I don't know how they would do that, but that's for another topic, okay? But I will say they didn't even have a rhythm section. Now, granted, they had that double triple before the finish, but that's not like we didn't get a traditional supercross section like we did even last year. And I feel like that part was missing, especially it would have provided a different opportunity for riders to take different lines and maybe make some passes in that aspect. I felt this track was so motocrossy, like so outdoorsy, that it kind of sucked on that aspect. It was too outdoorsy a little bit.
Yeah, what's tricky is, you know, as fans that are watching on TV, what's tricky is we only get to see the passes and the stuff that's going on camera. So we didn't really get to see, you know, for example, guys, you know, like privateers that were racing, maybe a little bit further down the line, or even guys like McElrath, Savachi, those guys, or heck, even freaking Barsha. Like, we didn't see those guys at all, not even for a second in those races. So we don't know if there were passes being made in those sections. I do completely agree with you that, yeah, it was definitely cool to be able to see guys like getting technical and having to really like expand their use of the track and not just, follow the main line in order to make those passes. And I will say that that's obviously part of racing, and that's what, part of what makes it challenging. I think that there was a lot of tracks this year that, really lended their hand well to making passes naturally, or just, whether it's just taking a different line and hitting it better, or, I think that Jett really was an exceptional example this weekend of guys that are able to see different lines. And, like Tomac, he said it right on the podium. Like, he was like, man, I wish that I would have seen, the other lines. I wish I would have taken some of Jett's lines. Now, when I saw them, I was like, dang, what was I thinking? And honestly, dude, I relate to that a ton. Me as a racer, that's something that I struggle with, is, being open to see other lines. But Jett is truly like a master of that. And he has done it in Supercross, he's done it in outdoors, and now he's done it in SMX. And that's what allowed him to be able to catch and pass Tomac like he did. And that's kind of where those tight conditions that are like, man, it's super one-lined, and it was. And I do personally wish that as a viewer that there were, other ways, that they could have maybe made the track a little bit different to, maybe have an actual rhythm section, or even just have the section be a little bit longer, and utilize kind of the inside area a little bit differently. That wasn't just like super insanely tight 90, 180, 90. Like, I don't know. That was just really kind of tricky to watch. And I mean, Deegan definitely made it interesting. Like, That dude straight up sent it into Joe. That was really the way that you kind of had to be in that section, is you either had to be insanely calculated and somebody make a mistake, or you had to force it. Um, and so it kind of left the more traditional passes to be in the outdoor section, which nothing wrong with that. But yeah, no, I definitely feel like there was a bit to be desired with the track layout. Um, and yeah, I mean, it definitely required a lot of skill, and a lot of using your mind and opening up your mind to different options in order to make it work.
Yeah. And like you mentioned with Jett being so technical, like the way that he was setting up Tomac, he did it multiple times, right? First race and second race, he was setting him up before the finish line, cutting down on that corner where we saw nobody else cut down on that corner. Like,
Yeah, that's
obviously,
slick, dude. That was so slick.
like we didn't see the back end, so a lot of people may have done that, right? Because you mentioned that we don't see those guys, so maybe people did do that. But with Jett, we saw it multiple times, and that was a perfect way to set him up, because even if he didn't make the pass in that corner, it set him up for the next corner, because then Tomac had to take a super far inside, which then pushed him pushed him to the outside of the corner before the finish, where Jett took outside to inside, so it kind of took his line away, right? That's exactly what happened in Moto 2. That's so what I'm kind of thinking of. And that was awesome to see. And now talking about Jett here, he wins the championship 3 times in a row. He's now back-to-back because he won Moto and SMX. I don't know if you would say that's back-to-back, but he won 3 times SMX playoffs. And what I kind of find interesting is he didn't really celebrate. And I get it because he beat his brother. And for a moment there, I really thought he wasn't going to go after Tomac and he was going to let his brother win. Now, I'm not saying let in the aspect of like, oh, I gave up and like I want Hunter to win. I think he just couldn't catch him for a little bit. And he was like, in his mind, he was like, dude, I don't know if I want to risk my life here to go catch Tomac. And then he was like, yeah, I kind of want to risk my life here. And then 3 laps to go, he catches Tomac, passes him, and he wins the championship. And then on the podium, he's just not celebrating. He's kind of almost sad, a little teary-eyed, because he just beat his brother again in this championship 2 years in a row. And it kind of makes it interesting, because how does that dynamic work? If like your brother's there, you just beat him for one of the championships, you just beat him for $500,000 more. Like, how does one feel when you do that? Like, I don't know how you can describe that between those two.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think genuinely, Jett said it on the podium. Like, I was basically either I was gonna send it or I was gonna crash, and he he sent it, and he was so like, dude, it's crazy that we are in a moment of motocross, supercross, super motocross, an era where Jett is just that good, that he can keep pace with the guys that are at the very top, the very best, and he's not even fully sending it. A guy that still has speed to uncork, and when he does uncork it, he's literally on another level, and that's crazy to me. Granted, I get that Tomac was saying that he was getting tired, and that's totally understandable. And obviously Jett was coming from behind and couldn't quite get to Hunter. But like, man, it's just crazy that in literally what 3 laps that he was able to close a gap and pass him, and he did it like he looked like he was in his true like form. He wasn't necessarily just chilling out, but he wasn't riding out of control. Like, he stayed in control, and it was so awesome to see.
It almost reminds me of Redbud, where he went 18 to first, where I even said, like, in our reactions, I was like, is this the like true speed of Jett? Because we saw him fly by guys. Like, those guys were going fast as hell, and he just flew by them. And that kind of reminds me of that last lap or the last couple of laps, where he was 4 seconds down on Tomac and made it up in a lap, basically a lap and a half, and then made it past the next lap. Like, yeah, that speed you can't teach that, dude. Like, that's insane.
No, I think that I don't know, man. It's so hard to say what it is about Jett that he's able to do that. I mean, clearly Honda HRC has that like so freaking dialed. Clearly he is insanely comfortable, fully trusts that bike with his life, literally. Um, but I think it definitely was really interesting Jett's reaction on the podium. Like you had said before about, he had just beat his brother and all that. And that is tricky as somebody, obviously, if you're somebody that is, I mean, this is like unbelievable as far as those two guys being one and two best in any sport. And I mean, I definitely can understand where he's coming from, where he's like, man, like, my brother was about to win his first. And I mean, you definitely care about that kind of thing. You know, you definitely have to feel some empathy for, you know, basically taking it away from him. And but it's at the same time, this is a solo sport, and Des Nations is the only time where it really isn't necessarily a solo sport. But you still have to perform yourself in order to better your team. But man, I mean, it was really interesting to see his reaction be so different. And I think that was probably more because he saw, you know, Hunter's reaction. And, for Hunter, it's like, man, it just slips away from you just like that. Like you're talking about, I think that the difference between them was, only a couple points. And it's like, man, like it's crazy just how little it is. Like, dude, what was it last weekend in St. Louis? If Tomac would have caught Kenny and passed Kenny, he would have won that. He would have been in a better position, and he would have done. I think that he would have either tied for the championship, or I don't really remember the exact points. And to be honest, it's kind of hard to keep track with the double and triple points and stuff. But it's crazy how fast it gets taken away. And I'm sure that Hunter felt like, I have this. I'm doing every single thing that I can do. And that's the truth. The dude was out front as you're supposed to do. He was out front, and everything else, basically the chips fall where they may. And in Vegas, that's kind of just how it was. The chips fell where they were going to fall behind him. And, it got taken from him in the last minute or two, and that sucks. And I'm sure that Jett definitely feels for him in that. It's definitely got to be bittersweet. I mean, what's good is it's they still can celebrate together as brothers. But it was a very interesting reaction.
Yeah, I'm for Hunter. You're talking about Hunter, like I feel bummed for him, 100% bummed,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
he deserved that championship. He rode phenomenal. However, in Moto 1, all he needed to do was go after Tomac. I get he was sick. I totally get that. He wasn't probably feeling good. I think he even mentioned that his energy level in that moto particularly was low. So I get it, which sucks though, because if he gets Tomac there, he gets second, he goes 2-1, he wins the championship. Because that is saying Jett doesn't pass him in Moto 2, and Moto 2 goes exactly how it was. If Hunter does get second in Moto 1, I think Jett still goes after him in Moto 2, right? I still believe that. But it would be a whole different dynamic. What would Jett necessarily need to do if he started behind Hunter, which Hunter pulled whole shot and was leading the entire race? So those things, it's like it's a bunch of what ifs, obviously, but that's part of motocross, right? And it's just kind of crazy to think about. Like you mentioned, Tomac last week in St. Louis could have got the overall there with one spot. This week, Hunter, all he needed to do was get Tomac. He wins the overall. Those tiny little details probably won't get talked about as much. They'll just say Jett won the championship over his brother. But just one minor little detail of Hunter not getting second place didn't get second place right there in Moto 1, cost him the championship. Last week, Jett going dead last probably wouldn't be in this situation, right? He would probably have a way bigger buffer, and Hunter would needed to have Jett go 3 or 4 today or yesterday, right? So those tiny little details matter the most, and that's what I love about racing. because at the end of the day, we have no idea what's going to happen, bro. Because, like, we just watched that 450 race. We watched the 250 race. We don't know what's going to happen, and that's what makes it so freaking exciting. A guy that kind of surprised me, though, was Eli Tomac a little bit. He was feisty in the very beginning. He faded a little bit, right? He faded a little bit, but he was super feisty, and I love seeing that from Tomac. I'm not used to seeing him fade, though. That was kind of weird. Like, he faded in both motos a little bit. Not necessarily in Moto 1, a little bit to Jett, but in Moto 2 especially.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that that's maybe that's just a little uncharacteristic of Tomac just in general, but I feel like Tomac isn't always, now I could be wrong, but I don't know that Tomac is always the most aggressive off start. I mean, we all know that Kenny is. Kenny's known for it. But dude, I mean, literally, I was screaming on my couch when I saw Tomac absolutely ripping down that first like roller section going into the corner and making moves. Like, that was incredible. I mean, and genuinely, if you think about it, without Hunter and Jett, Tomac just won that moto by like almost 10 seconds, which, like, obviously Hunter and Jett are there and they're not going to go anywhere. But like, it's still insane to think that Tomac is, you know, it's always talked about that he's at the end of his career and all that. And as a Tomac fan, that makes me super sad because literally look at what the guy just did. Like, he is still at the top. It's crazy. And like, he clearly is not, he's not lacking any skill. He looks comfortable and the dude's in shape. Like, yeah, he faded a little bit, but like, honestly, I'm sure that probably everybody started to lose a little bit of steam there towards the end of Moto 2. It looked like there was quite a few guys that were starting to make mistakes or, you know, maybe they pushed a little too hard. I mean, let's be honest, this is the most important race of the SMX season, you know, or the SMX playoffs. You're gonna send it. You're gonna spend the extra energy. You're not just gonna be like, oh, I'll just kind of like chill out and see how I end up. No, this dude, this is triple points. This is for positions in, you know, the payout in the series overall. Like, you're gonna send it. And yeah, I think that everybody was sending it because there's the most on the line, so it upped the level. Everybody was probably using a little more energy than normal, basically except for Jett, because he's just an alien. And literally, it's, you know, those guys were pushing it, but dude, Tomac was on rails. Like, it was dude, it was so awesome watching Tomac like in his form.
Another guy, too, that was awesome to watch was Ken Roczen. Now, we didn't get to see a lot
Yes.
of him. Not a
Yes,
lot.
dude.
But he goes out. He gets fourth place overall in the race. He also gets fourth place overall in the championship, beating out Justin Cooper for fifth or whatever. But the little glimpses that we had of Kenny, he was on rails. Now, obviously, he doesn't have the speed with Tomac and Hunter and Jett. But
Maybe
a
not in
guy...
this, maybe not in this arena though. But what about in Supercross? What about when we go to Supercross?
I mean, with St. Louis, he got second, right? He got a start and he stayed in second. And
Yeah.
I think with him not doing any outdoors, I mean, he did one outdoors, but he didn't even finish the second moto, right? So with him basically doing no outdoors, only Supercross, he comes out and gets fourth place overall in the championship. I know it's a 3 race, triple points, whatever. It's still fourth place in the record book. And that's freaking sick to see. He gets a lot of money. I think it's like $200,000. He gets a lot of money. And yeah, kind of just surprised me how he was able to fight off like RJ. He was able to battle with Sexton because he was right there with Sexton and RJ the entire race. As you mentioned, they're like 10 seconds off the lead, but like you can see, this is kind of, you can see the gaps between the top guys. I'm not putting Sexton there. I don't know what the hell Sexton's going on. We'll talk about Sexton here in a second, but like there's gaps, right? There's levels to it, like Jett, Hunter, and Eli, like tier A, and then you got the tier B, you got the tier C, you know what I'm saying? And it's cool to see Kenny be the top of tier B right now, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, dude, what's crazy is when we did see anytime we saw Kenny on screen, he was battling, dude. He wasn't just like, "Oh, I'm fending off guys." No, dude, he was trying to fight and get the positions back, and he did. It wasn't just like, "Oh, I'm just trying to bide my time and trying to, you know, hold these guys off." Like, dude, he was aggressive. Like, he was not playing around at all. And so
In Moto 2, you had him passing RJ. That pass was kind of crazy because it
crazy.
was in the
Loved
inside.
it.
They're both on the inside. I thought he was outside. They were both on the inside, hitting the ski jump area, and he still makes the pass. That was maybe one of the best passes of the night, almost, because of how that section is, right?
Yeah, I mean, Kenny, dude, it's just crazy to think, honestly. So it's like, the guy, it's not like he really had as much like gate time as most of the guys that he was racing against. But like, obviously, the dude is a master of his craft, and he showed that. And while he might not have been, up in the Tomac Jet Hunter, you know, group, like he was pushing it, and he had such insanely good speed. And I'm pretty what was that last year that there was no, or was a year prior that he was battling with Jet. I think that was 2 years ago maybe.
Yeah, that was the first year of the SMX playoffs.
Yeah, like dude, the guy is not going anywhere. Like it's not like he's super far off in this format. Like, obviously I personally when I think of Kenny, I think of a supercross guy. Like, that's just the first thing that comes to mind for me. But he's definitely an SMX guy. I mean, I think that going forward, anytime that dude's in SMX, like we really can't count him out as a potential contender because if somebody's out or we have race drama that we have seen can definitely happen. uh he's a guy that's been there, and fourth in the championship is not far off. And while the points might, I don't know where exactly the points gap was at the end for Kenny, but like dude, if you think about it, that's considering the double and the triple points, creating a lot of separation. So I don't know, man. I mean, Kenny definitely impressed. Like Kenny was awesome. Eli was also awesome. Hunter was also awesome. Jett was awesome. Like, yeah, those guys. While we're not entirely surprised about Jett and Hunter per se, I feel like personally I'm not as surprised, and I'm not super surprised by Jett because he just proves over and over and over, even when everybody's like, he's maybe he's just off, or maybe he's not feeling comfortable or fading or whatever. The dude delivers. It's just gonna happen, and we've seen it, and he's gonna keep doing it.
I think for Jett too, he's probably the best guy under pressure, like in the entire field. You put pressure on his shoulders, he delivers. I don't think I've ever seen him not deliver in a pressure situation. And going back to his 250 days, going back to the first series or first round of the SMX, in 2023, he delivered. Last year, he delivered under the pressure in Supercross. He also delivered the perfect season with Chase holding him down. You know what I'm saying? Like, all he does is win, and he handles the pressure amazing. And one guy that, unfortunately, I think personally can't handle the pressure right now, that's Chase Sexton. And we've seen him win championships. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's been in the fight.
He's got speed, dude.
He's got speed. He has the talent. He has everything. He has the grit. He has the willing to win. I think he just kind of folds under pressure a little bit, but he also is very unlucky, in my opinion, a little bit. This is 3 years in a row that he's crashed out in the final round of SMX playoffs. And this one, this weekend, was horrible. Okay, I saw the clip earlier today, and from my understanding, he was going fourth gear wide open, went over the bars, face planted into the ski jump, like the little before the table going down. Like, it was a hard hit. Very, very hard hit. Thankfully, he's okay. Okay, thankfully, he's okay. Shoulder injury and a mild concussion. He didn't move for 2 laps.
I was surprised they didn't red flag it. I was really shocked. I mean, yeah, I get there was a whole other part of the lane that was open, but like, man, there was a lot of medics on the track. He was not moving. You know, I was a little surprised they didn't red flag that, or I don't know. I mean, that's what I would have expected.
I feel like if the guy's not moving for a whole 2 laps, you you got to think about red flagging. He didn't move for 2 laps.
Yeah.
Like I remember in my brain, like he's still not moving. That was one lap. Next lap,
Yes.
he's still not moving. Like, and then they
Yes.
go all the way around. Then he's finally off. Like, there's a situation where I think it's more cautious than what needs to happen. Now, if they do a red flag, that would change the championship, and that would make a difference. So that's probably going through their mind, right? They're thinking like, if we end it now,
they want it to play out.
Yeah, if we end it now, like that's going to change the dynamic for Hunter and Jett. Jett won't win. Hunter will now win. Like, I get that. Even mxgp will get to that too, because that is a different ball game too, right? And just for Chase, I'm super bummed, dude. He comes back from injury, and then he gets hurt again. He had a horrible St. Louis race. He had a horrible Moto 1 too. Like, he started 4th and then let guys pass him. Like, I think something more is going on. I really do. I think he's actually still hurt from that Ironman crash, and he came back trying to do what he can do. And he's just so talented that we can see him be up front. And when I really do believe he was still hurt. And that's why when those first race, like the race at St. Louis, first moto, second moto, and that first moto where he starts to fade, I think that shoulder problem was still giving him problems. And we kind of saw it. That's just my take. I don't know if he's like that or not, but Chase doesn't fade. He still fights for everything he has. And that was just weird.
It was very uncharacteristic. And honestly, we know Chase is a guy that can, put in the pace to be with Jett and Eli and Hunter. Like, that's like been pretty much the guy, other than Tomac, that we've seen that can genuinely put in the speed to match Jett or potentially beat Jett. It is, I guess, so I do want to touch on, you talk about Jett being super cool under pressure. I do want to note his injuries. So his outdoor injury, I don't think that was a pressure thing. He was out front and he was trying to do a line that he did previously. Like, so if you want, like, I don't think that the crash was caused by pressure.
Yeah,
So
I don't think
that
when he got
injury-
hurt there at Hangtown, that he was just doing a stupid ass line trying to triple down the hill. I don't think that was pressure at all either.
Exactly. And so that kind of seconds my point of then this year, Glendale, he wasn't really under pressure. It was early in the series and dude just dabbed his foot in the start. So yeah, I think that you're dead on that. Jett Lawrence under pressure, I mean, and especially at a young age, that's incredible to be able to handle things that well, to be able to look at things super objectively and then be able to be super patient and know when to strike, know when to put in the speed, and just have the kind of cruising speed that is just so high, so fast. But yeah, man, I mean, I think that Chase, I mean, dude, Cooper Webb played mind games, and Cooper Webb's good at that. Now, if that's, I mean, we've seen him do that with other guys and it work, but is it going to work on Jett?
I actually think the mind games help Chase a little bit. I
Okay,
really do.
all
I
right.
think it helped Chase realize like, hey, I need to be better in certain situations. And I think he learned a lot from that. Now, it didn't really show at Paula. Obviously, he crashed, and he probably should have gone in for goggles. And this whole series would be completely different, right? I will stand on my take. I will stand on my take. He should have gone in for goggles. He could have made up a 25 passes and still get 5th place in that Moto 1. I don't care what anybody has to say for that.
No, I agree. I
But
agree. I think
that
that
going back to your thing, like I think he learned a lot from Cooper Webb.
yeah, I think, what's crazy is, dude, like Jett creates a different kind of pressure on guys. He's not talking crap. He's not in your face. He's just fast. And like, that you have to be perfect to beat him. Even if he starts from behind, he has the speed that he can still catch you and potentially pass you. Like, that's, dude, knowing that you have to be perfect, and that means your perfect has to be like your full send, because your full send might not even be Jett's full send speed. And when Jett's in full send speed, like, dude, watch out, because you're just not going to be able to hold him off. And I think that that creates such a tricky mental situation for guys because they're like, dude, literally, how do I beat him? How is it possible to beat him? It's not like Jett's not doing anything other than just performing every single freaking time. And that's like, dude, that's got to beat you down mentally. And you're scratching your head wondering, what more can I do? What can I do differently? Do I need to change the bike? Do I need to change my training? Do I need to try to attack earlier? Well, now you're changing the way that you race because you're trying to beat somebody else. And while it's good to improve your craft, that's really tricky. And for some guys, they might not be able to handle, changing the way that they race just to be able to beat Jett.
Yeah, and I mean, Tomac said it all the time. He's been saying it every single time he's on the podium. I have to figure out ways to beat Jett. I'm trying to beat Jett. I just can't beat him. Like, I can't beat these brothers, man. And I really believe the only guy that can was Chase. And that was before Iron Man. What happened after Iron Man? He obviously crashed, and we haven't seen the same Chase since that moment, right? And with that injury now, he's not doing Motocross of Nations. He's 100% out. And I don't think personally the pressure of beating Jett got to him in these playoffs. I don't think so personally. Because I think, like I mentioned, I think he was coming in hurt. And I think he was going to pull a Cooper Webb here and just try to get some money. Us fans wanted him to win and beat Jett because we know he can. And we kind of expect that from Chase. But if I'm realistically thinking about this, going back to even Charlotte, going into St. Louis and watching him, it didn't look like the same Chase that we saw in Ironman Moto 1, right? It just wasn't, right? And
no, definitely not. That was Chase in form.
Yeah, I think he just was kind of pulling a Cooper Webb here, trying to get the paycheck because it is a lot of money. And us fans kind of wanted him to win. But realistically, he just wanted to come out and finish the series and get the money because he most likely would have got third, and maybe fourth. He would have got Kenny's spot, and that's a lot of money compared to where he finished, which was eighth place. So that's almost, I think, $150,000 difference. Money's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Maybe not for their contracts, but that's still a lot of money. And I really do believe he just was hurt, and that's the realistic take. And I don't think the pressure got to him because of his injury, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. And I mean, obviously, I'm not competing for a main event win, but I've definitely done it plenty of times where in outdoors, I know that I can be in the top 20. I've been in the top 20 plenty of times. That's kind of where I would expect myself to be. And I've had injuries, before outdoors or during outdoors, and then you come back and then, like the people that are around you, don't necessarily expect it, but they know that that's where you can be. And even as your own self, just taking everything else out of it, like as a racer, you know that you can be there and you kind of expect yourself to be there. And, you're not satisfied as a racer. Once you've done something once, you are kind of unsatisfied unless you do that same thing again or you do the next step. And I think I mean, I've dealt with that plenty where, I'm coming back from injury and it's like, you're trying to rush the results is kind of the best way that I can say that. Like when you come back from injury, there's very few guys that can go back. I mean, literally, except basically for Jett. There's only a few guys that can really come back from injury and I do, especially if you're rushing an injury. Rushing an injury is such a dangerous game to play.
For Jett, like he rushed the ACL, came back and won, right? Chase, he didn't even rush to come back, and he wasn't even close to the top 3. You know what I mean? I do get that they were already mid-season. I get that. But, I mean, Jett didn't have any prep time for the last, 4 months. And he comes out and wins where Eli's been riding. Eli was riding, Hunter was riding. So, it's kind of crazy to think about.
Or not the whole time. A good amount of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's the expectation and the want you have for yourself, where you know that you can be, and rushing that and trying to get back to that, kind of can create a little bit of a dangerous scenario.
Yeah. it's crazy how good Jett is, even coming back from injuries. And that's why I think Chase kind of just was in it for the money. And then it kind of backfired in that second moto a little bit. Man, not really. It just kind of made me a mistake. That also kind of makes me think, like, was that the KTM problem with the shock? Because we'll never know. But Chase doesn't really go down like that. I mean, he has some crazy crashes, so maybe I'm out of
He has weird crashes. He has weird crashes.
That could have been another weird crash where that shock maybe goes out and he messes up, right? I don't know. We won't get to see the full how the whole crash happened. I only saw the back end where he goes over the bars, but yeah, kind of crazy. But continue on for the 450s here. We'll touch on a little bit because we got to touch on those 250 class, right? So
absolutely. There's plenty to talk about there.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to the rest of these 450 guys here real quick. RJ, really good ride. He got 6th place. J Coop, 5th place with crashing in Moto 2, which was very cool to see.
He was doing good, man. He had some speed.
Joey Savacci, 8-9 on the day. He goes 8th place. That's really sick to see. Barsha, 9th. Last ever ride on the gas gets 9th place. Justin Hill, 10th place. Like, Jay Hill doesn't ride since freaking Salt Lake comes out and gets 10th in this one. We have Shane 11th, Cody, Benny. You have Valentin Gio get 15th. That's just for like the overall results at Vegas. For the championship, J Coop finishes 5th, Cooper Webb 6th, RJ 7th, Chase 8th, Joey 9th, which is pretty good. Barsha 10th, DF crashes off the start Moto 2. He gets 11th still. Hill gets 12th. Bloss, Shane, Cody, Valentin Gio gets 16th. And then you got like the LCQ guys, Dean, Marshall Welton. Malcolm Stewart somehow still gets 19th. Does he get money for that? Does he get money for that?
Absolutely. He gets series payout. Yeah, 100%.
That's crazy. He doesn't race one round and he still gets 19th overall. That's like 27 to 30 grand, I think, something like that, which is crazy. Wait, AP got 22nd. AP got 22nd. So he got 25 grand for not even racing.
That's wild.
Is that real? Like, will he actually get? I have no idea.
I don't know. No idea. I don't know how the SMX series pays out. I don't know if it's top 20 or top 22. I feel like in Supercross it's top 20.
Well,
I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
All 22 get money. All get 22 get money. But what I'm saying is, like, AP doesn't race though. Does he still count as getting that? Because he still made it in. Like, I don't know. Like, that's crazy to think about. And Malcolm did practice. He did go out to qualifying on Friday and I believe Saturday for St. Louis. I believe he was there too. So since he was there and riding, does he get them? I don't know. That's kind of a weird, touchy subject, I guess.
I'm sure that they still would. I'm sure that they will go off of whoever was in the points, just regardless if they were there or not.
Possibly. Because, well, yeah, I don't know. That's a very touchy subject. I guess we'll have to find out. Maybe ask AP later on because Doc knows AP pretty well. Be like, hey, AP, did you get that 25K? For getting less.
Just a cool 25K.
But okay, now let's talk about this 250 class. And I kind of want to go in order of how the race went because there's a lot that happened in both motos. So let's start in the first moto. And the main kind of thing is Joe got a great start and he was out there. I don't know if he was leading the first lap. I think he actually was leading the first lap, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a good question. I think he was. He got out front early and he did what he needed to do.
So he pulled whole shot in Moto 1 and he was leading. Now, on the other hand, Deegan, not a great start. Okay. He had to force his way through the pack. And as he was going through the pack, he crashes with Ryder D. That crash was insane.
That was brutal. That was brutal to watch.
My reaction to it was, please don't show that again. Please do not show that again because front tire hits his head, frame hits his head. You can see him go limp. Like, he was knocked out. And it was very bad. And I even said this on the stream. I'm like, is that the worst crash that we've seen as of late? Just of how his body reacted, in my opinion. Like, just him on the bike, and it just went limp. And he was still on the bike, just limp, you know? And I'm really glad he is okay. Like, he got up. He was there still after the race, and he was just chilling. I'm like,
dude,
what?
I could not believe that he got up and walked. I like, when I was watching that, like, dude, Ashley like freaked out, and she was like, "Oh my God, like, I can't believe that I just witnessed that." And I was like thinking to myself, dude, I can't. I'm like, obviously looking at it, I'm like, clearly he got knocked out. Like, him going limp tells me he got knocked out. But I'm like, dude, his neck, if he did not break his neck, that is absolutely insane. Like, I I can't believe it. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what to even say about that. Like, I mean, yeah, it's not really Deegan's fault, and it's not really Ryder D's fault. It's just a racing incident. But like, man, like, it's like that stuff doesn't really happen very often, especially in a corner. Guys getting landed on in a rhythm section or a jump, that is more kind of what you see. But somebody getting landed on in a corner is, and Deegan was really the only guy I think that was really jumping that. So that was really kind of a weird scenario.
I got two things. One, that was the track design, right? Like we talked about that earlier. That's how like Deegan had the line going great and it was working, and then Ryder D made a mistake. Like you said, it's a racing incident. 100% racing incident, not anybody's fault. Second, for his neck, I think what got extremely lucky here is I think he got knocked out from the front tire. Okay. And so he got knocked out from the front tire, which allowed him to, when you get knocked out, like everything just like, I don't know, it goes limp, but like, how do I describe it? Your basically body shuts down and it doesn't really work, right? So you don't tense up, right? You don't tense, you don't do anything, right? And when the frame hit him and the neck twisted, the best case scenario was he was knocked out before, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. So that way it didn't allow his neck to tighten up and kind of crank. You know what I'm saying by that? And I think that actually helped him getting, if that is the case, I don't know if that was the case, but I think that kind of helps him in a way. But horrible crash. Horrible crash. The way that he was able to just like sit up, get up, he was fine after the race. I saw the podium and Ryder D was standing. I'm like, is that Ryder D? Like he's there.
He's just chilling. Bro is out there just chilling after getting his head landed on. That's pretty tough, dude.
It was crazy. So I'm glad that Ryder D is okay. And going back to Deegan now for that, he goes down and he has to fight all the way back up. I think there was 12 minutes left. I think maybe 12, 13 minutes left in that moto when that happened. He fought all the way back up to get second, which was the best case scenario for him without pulling whole shot. And he was honestly off all day, right? Like qualifying, he was off. He even got his lap like deleted because he kind of cut the track right before the finish. So that lap didn't count. Horrible gate pick. And he was just off all day. And I kind of feel like that crash and everything that happened in Moto2 kind of sums up his day in a way. But it was still very impressive to see him go through the pack because he is the best 250 guy. And he went through the pack and got into second. And I thought that was very impressive, at least for Moto1.
Yeah. I mean, he showed the speed. That's straight up, he showed the speed. I completely agree with you. He definitely was not his normal self. And I don't know if he was getting frustrated with the track or if it was bike setup or if it was mental but something was definitely off. And I think that the big thing is, Deegan kind of works in his way where he definitely likes to get reactions out of people. And Joe just never gave it to him. Joe is like ice in the veins, like stone cold, absolutely, like just unbothered.
Did you see the press conference? Did you see the press conference clip where Joe goes, he was like, yeah, Deegan said, hey, you got something coming. And Joe's like, hey, me no speak English. That was so funny, bro. Shout out to Joe for that.
That was so funny. I was dying laughing when I saw that. He like seriously. I think that that type of guy, and like just not engaging with it is like that's like Deegan's kryptonite, dude. Like just not getting anything back. Just like yeah, dude. Like okay, like just no reaction to it is like the best thing that he could have done.
And I have a couple things I want to say here. I got to go on a rant here. Maybe it's just like a couple sentences, but you guys told us Deegan wouldn't force the issue, bro. And what happened? He forced the issue in Moto 2. He actually tried to go for Levi Kitchen. He really did. He looked back, he stopped, and he tried to go after Levi Kitchen. We told you guys that he would. And then he goes after Joe, and 4 or 5 attempts to try to take out Joe. I saw a lot of people saying black flag him, black flag him. I don't think you need a black flag him. There was definitely going to be a penalty coming out of that, but I think that's what kind of Deegan, like he was expecting a penalty regardless, right? And if you took out Joe, he goes off and wins. Seth is in between them. Maybe Tom Vial gets in between them. Now Deegan only has a 5-second or a 5-point penalty, but he still wins because it's triple points, right? And like you guys told us we're stupid. Like he has a penalty. Like no, we're not stupid. We know how Deegan works. He's going to go try to do stupid shit, and that's exactly what he did. And it didn't work for him.
I think that when we were doing the predictions, I said about like, you know, the playing the games and, you know, it all depends on where Deegan starts and if he tries to make a point to get involved in the games and the championship games, that's going to determine the outcome. And I think that that was really that's exactly what happened. I mean, dude, Kitchen was not playing games, but Deegan wanted to make a point about Kitchen. And so the thing is Deegan went from his focus being winning to well, now I got to get, you know, back at Kitchen and oh, I got to take Joe out instead of like, dude, let's say you lose the championship, you get second. But let's say you go put yourself in the lead and you win by 10, 15 seconds. You're sending a message and you're staying healthy. You don't break your collarbone. And yeah, you lose a little bit of money, but guess what, dude? You just went and lost even more money because I don't know exactly where he ended up in the championship, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't second.
So for Deegan, like you just mentioned, he lost 2 things. He lost the championship, he lost all those points, and then he broke a collarbone, and now he's lost his MX of Nations ride because he has a broken collarbone. And that, like you mentioned, he goes out there and win. Nobody's on the comment section saying, like, karma for Deegan, karma for Deegan. He should have been black flag. That's what he gets. I swear, if he goes out and just dominates, every comment would be like, oh, Deegan should have won. Joe got lucky. You know what I'm saying? Instead, now it's all hate for Deegan because you didn't just lose the championship in people's eyes. You just lost our Motocross of Nations win as well in a lot of people's eyes because of your foolishness of trying to take out Joe when we all know you're the best guy, bro. We all know you're the best guy. Go out there. Don't even worry about Kitchen. Don't even worry about Joe. Go out and dominate that second moto. And if he does that, what did we say earlier? Anything can happen in motocross. You have no idea if Joe's going to finish second. You know, because Seth is still on fire. Tommy V's right there. What if Joe has a tip over and the gap now is Deegan goes and gets first place and Joe gets third place because of an issue from Joe, right? You never know what could happen. And I think that with Deegan doing all those stupid ass moves, one, he lost maybe a lot of fans, right? Second, he lost the championship. Third, he lost a lot of fans because of now Motocross of Nation. Like everybody wanted us to go out there and dominate. And that could have been a domino effect of him breaking his collarbone and now Chase goes out. Like, what if he doesn't break his collarbone? Maybe Chase doesn't get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that's a crazy what if, but it's part of moto. And I love that he tried to go for it. I do. I really do, that he brought the excitement. Like, I totally agree. Maybe 1 to 2 passes, like when you go into that tight section after the on-off, after the finish, like that would probably be the most. All right. Or the corner before the step down. The third one where he actually went down and then he broke his collarbone. Like, okay, you couldn't get by him. Try to just make a clean pass, get in front of him, go out. And like you had multiple opportunities where Joe was letting him by, right? Just go and pass him. And like, if he doesn't go down there, okay, whatever. lead your race and try to go and win the championship or win the race, right? It just cost him so much, so much for doing something he didn't necessarily need to do, right?
No, I definitely, yeah, like I respect going after the championship. I completely understand that. But man, like when you start focusing on stuff that isn't racing, when you're looking behind you, letting him go by, trying to hit him, or trying to wait up to hit somebody, like, dude, I don't care if you're fighting for a championship. I've had guys do that, this year in Supercross, and it doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't really get anybody anywhere. Um, and it's just dumb. Like, it's a dumb way to race. And, like, you put yourself at risk to do something like what happened to Deegan. Like, anytime that you try to mix it up with another rider, anytime that you're not focused on what's in front of you and, performing, then all of a sudden you're just opening up a whole other, world of possibilities. And dude, I mean, literally when we were watching Iron Man, I was joking, in the chat during the watch party, and I was like, dude, hot take, Deegan goes and wins, on a 250, wins Des Nations like Ryan Villapoto did how many years ago against Jett. Like, how crazy would that be? Well, dude, you don't get the opportunity to do that now. Like, it's not gonna happen.
And that's what I'm so bummed about, because we wanted Deegan out there. Even if you're not a fan of Deegan, you wanted him out there because he's the best 250 guy. And this stupid freaking racing, like, cost him that chance. Cost him to go out there and beat everybody. Now, he's probably thinking, I don't care. Like, he probably doesn't necessarily care for Motocross of Nations in a way. Like, he probably thinks, like, I want this 500,000 because there's no money for Motocross of Nations, right? And we all know Deegan, although he can be prideful for the US, he's also very important. Like, money is very important for him, right? And he probably, like, maybe wanted the money more than, say, a Motocross of Nations title. Maybe in a little way. I don't know. But it just sucks to see him go down, break a collarbone, and now we're not even going to see him at Motocross of Nations. Now, he could come back, and we could be out of our ass right here talking about this, because I've seen collarbones come back within 2 weeks. Hurlings did it, I believe, last year.
Dude, Cody Schock literally
Cody Schock did it
and came back next weekend.
Yeah, so it's possible, right? It's so possible. But in the moment, we're just fired up because we know that it could possibly mean that he's not going to be racing. And I think it all started at the beginning of the day. Go back to what I said earlier. Qualifying, he didn't look like himself. And it probably started there. And I heard some rumors that there was chirping with Levi at the beginning at breakfast. So maybe even started there. So all together, horrible day for Deegan, right? Horrible day for Deegan. And it ends with something that nobody really wanted to see, with him getting hurt.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's so hard. I mean, finding the balance of fighting for the championship and doing what you need to do to win, versus, walking the line of, what is a good idea of taking somebody down, versus not. Like, I don't know. I mean, dude, when you're playing takeout games, you're playing a dangerous game, not just for the other person, but for yourself. It's dangerous whenever you get two bikes together. And that track is, dude, the dirt's hard. The track is hard. Like, if you hit the ground, it's gonna hurt. It's not like you're doing this at Southwick or at, a soft part of the track on, at Redbud. If you hit the ground, it's gonna freaking hurt. Like, you got to be a little more mindful.
Do you remember Moto 2 start with Deegan and Joe off the rip? He looks over, he sees Joe. If I'm Deegan right there, if you are already planning to take Joe out, push him over the berm. Right there. You had the opportunity. Why not go? If you're not going to take him out there, why would you wait until the very end? And when the gaps are already manageable, where you both can get up, and Deegan will probably still not win the championship. Like, not take him out in that corner. He's now buried in the pack. The track's hard to pass. Joe maybe only get up to 5th, maybe with bent bars or something like that. Deegan can still go out and get the win. He might get a penalty, but you don't know where Joe ends up. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
I think what's tricky is, so they mentioned on the broadcast that with it being triple points, that any penalty would also be tripled. So if they're like, oh, you would get, docked 2 positions, that means that, however many points that is normally, you're going to get docked triple the amount of points. So
Well, he got docked 5 points. So how does that work? Is that based because where he finished? He only got docked 5 points because of where he finished in Moto 2?
I'm not sure. Yeah,
Where did he finish Moto 2? He finished 20th. So is that 1 point? 2 points maybe? I don't even know.
I don't
like
even
how
know.
How do you get 5 points out of a 20 place like result if it's only, is it 2? I don't even know.
I don't know. Maybe they gave a specific point, like a specific point deduction instead of a placement deduction, which then they would have to do the points and do the tripling and blah blah blah. But I think that probably because he's on, he's had his written warning, so now it's like, okay, if he does go and aggressively at high speeds go and cleans out Joe, they're probably going to hand you a penalty. And if Joe manages, because he knows that Joe is fast, to get up close enough to where the penalty is going to put Joe back in the front anyway, like, dude, that's where I'm saying, like, when you're playing those games, you're taking your mind off the game, which is, the game is to go out and freaking win. And that's when you just boil it down to that. Deegan has performed. When it boiled down to, I just need to go and win, Deegan has gone and done that. So why are you going to try to mess with other stuff, where when that your success comes from having the attitude of, I'm a winner, I'm going to win, I can win, and I'm going to go and win. That's that you deviate from that, and then you let a bunch of other stuff happen. You let a bunch of other stuff in, and you can have stuff like this. You're going to get the short end of the stick. Statistically, it's going to happen at some point.
And you're right on. It's very weird to see Deegan try to do the bunching. Like I said that he would, right? But you just mentioned that all he does is go out there and win, and that's what he's like very capable of. That's what he's known to do. He just goes out and win, he dominates, and he lets the chips fall. Like, it's so weird that he didn't do it in this case. You could have definitely maybe hit Joe once, and then it's like, all right, I'm going to go out and dominate and show, and not play the foolish game of trying to take him out 6 times, all right? And it just makes no sense of why he didn't just go out there and dominate and let the chips fall after he tried to take him out a couple times.
Yeah, dude, like on your way through to the front, which we know you're going to do. If you want to go for a clean out, that's your prerogative, and you're going for a championship, so that's respectable. I understand that. But yeah, the waiting up to have him go by again, to brake check, and then to it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, on your way to the front, try it once, maybe twice. At that point, if it ain't happening, just gap him, dude. Like, just go. He might not have been able to get past Hammaker. Who knows?
Yeah, I totally agree. I wanted to see the excitement. I wanted to see the takeouts. But at the end of the day, like, for Deegan, you just need to go out there and win and let the chips fall. And you're more than capable of, right? Like, he was going to win that second moto if he didn't play the mind games. Like, he didn't bunch him up. He was going to win by like 15, right? And I think even with the penalty and the triple points, I think first corner mayhem, if Deegan pushes him over the berm, I don't think they would have necessarily said, okay, that's worth a penalty, right?
Unless it was like a T-bone.
Yeah, like they know it's for a championship. Like the AMA know it's for a championship, right? So if they go in and he rides him high and Joe goes over the berm, right?
Yeah, or hits a tough block and goes down.
Yeah, like they're not going to give him a penalty. And Deegan had the perfect opportunity to do that in the second corner off the start, right? He saw where he was, but he didn't push him high enough. And that's honestly good on Joe. And we'll get to Joe in here in a second. But like, I think that right there should have done it, and you should have just gone out and won, right? Because then you don't know where Joe goes. You don't know how he ends up, and you just wins the race, and you just focus on yourself. And you, at the end of the podium, you say, hey, man, I tried to win the championship with that move. It didn't happen. Congrats to Joe. He rode great. And just move on, you know?
Yep. That's kind of, that's the thing, man. Like, that's what, he took himself out of the contention to win. So, and dude, who knows? Joe could have had a mechanical failure. Joe could have gone down. Like, any number of things could have happened. But he tried to take it into his own hands. It just didn't work out.
Yeah. And now talking with Joe, he is a freaking warrior. He managed all of the attacks, right? He managed all of them.
Dude.
First moto, he did exactly what he needed to do. Pole, hole shot, gap people, and win the race, right? And I think that put the pressure on Deegan, as we just talked about for the last few minutes. Like, that put the pressure on Deegan to go do what Deegan did. And then in second moto, when Joe was just able to manage all of those takeouts and not let it get to him, not go down, right, with the original takeouts.
Dude.
Like, just
unfazed.
Completely unfazed. And that was so awesome to watch. And I truthfully believe this, that you had a lot of Deegan fans maybe turn tides to Joe, right? They'll go to Joe's side because of what happened with Deegan trying to do all that nonsense. And I think Joe just did it perfectly. He managed it perfectly. In my opinion, did he get lucky with Levi taking Deegan out? Yes. But it's also part of racing. And
that is something that happens, dude.
You
Just
have
like
to
Deegan
be
taking
there.
himself out. Yep.
You have to be there to win the championship, and that's where Joe was. And Joe, 100% in my eyes, deserves it. And I will make a bold statement here. Joe doesn't break his hands, if Joe doesn't break his fingers in Supercross, he wins Supercross, and he has a chance to win Moto.
Yes, dude.
I 100% believe that.
Completely agree.
You go watch that Anaheim one. He dominated that race. You're not going to think that Joe's going to do that at San Diego. Before he broke his fingers at San Diego, he was already top 2 on time. So
yes,
I 1000% believe Joe would have won the championship. Maybe not Moto. He would have been in for the fight, though, because his hand wouldn't have been broken. You know what I'm saying? But then it comes down to what ifs. What if Joe didn't break his hand? What if Deegan didn't crash with Levi? What if he didn't go down with Joe at the final and break his club? Like, a lot of what ifs.
But it did happen.
But that's why we go racing, because you never know what could happen.
Yes, dude. Yeah, I completely agree. I could not have said it any different, because I said the exact same thing when I was watching the race and I saw Joe win. I was like, dude, I said exactly that. If his hand didn't get broken, he would have won that championship. I believe that. Like, dude, I mean, genuinely, what a race. The guy, like, literally, he's definitely like the Kimi Räikkönen of Moto. Like, he definitely deserves the term and the title Iceman, for how he won that race. That was crazy. And not only that, but to literally pass Tom Vial in the last corner, dude. He didn't even need to, but he did, literally, to win the race and win the championship. What a move. What a move.
It was so sick. And like, in the moment, I'm like, wait, he just passed Tommy V? And like, I'm thinking, because I already went and said like, oh, Seth wins, Seth wins the race. And then Joe Freak comes out of nowhere and passes him for the win. I'm like, what the hell is this? It was
awesome, dude.
It was so sick.
Awesome.
And like, Joe deserves it, man. Like, he's such a good guy. He races respectfully. Like, he's the definition of a guy that will not back down. If you fight him, he will fight with you. Like, go back in Seattle when he fought with Deegan. He didn't give no like slouch to Deegan. He bumped him for a line. He didn't take him out. They was just part of racing, right? And I think that's what makes Joe so likable as a rider, is he won't back down. He will go give it 110%. And 1000% believe this, he is the favorite to win everything next year.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely, and the thing is I believe that as long as he stays healthy, I think that genuinely, I'll be interested to see, and I think that we were talking about this a little bit, uh, during the outdoors, is like, where are guys going to be? And with Deegan going outdoors, does he do West Coast Supercross that allows him to give him time to do 450 and train on 450, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I think that even if Deegan and Joe are on the same coast, I'm still going to pick Joe.
So congratulations to Joe. Well-deserved championship. His first ever championship in the 250 class. First ever Japanese rider to win a title in America. So congratulations to Joe. Phenomenal season. Altogether, phenomenal season for him with the injuries that he had to deal with. Also, great season for Deegan. All right. Like, he did wonderful
awesome.
in Supercross. Like, I think he podiumed basically every race besides one, maybe two, and that was like A1 and Redbud. I'm pretty sure he was on the podium for all of them, even going to, or I guess not the second round at SMX, but 3 rounds out of the entire year, he wasn't on the podium. Great year for Deegan, honestly. And shenanigans at the very end cost him, and it cost him the Motocross of Nations possibly, which freaking sucks. But overall, great year for Deegan. But also some other guys that we got to talk about here very shortly. Jordan Smith comes out,
Yes.
dislocates his shoulder in qualifying. That crash was gnarly, okay? But he goes out and he gets 6 overall. 10-7 on the day, gets 6 overall. Ty Masterpool, our guy, we wanted a podium from him. He struggled in Moto 1, but he got 6th place in Moto 2. He went 11-6 for 5th overall. Nate Thrasher, not even on the screen, goes 5-4, gets 4th overall. Tom Vial gets 3rd. Seth gets 2nd overall. Can we get a big shout out to Lux Turner? 8th place in that race.
Crazy. That was so cool.
So sick to watch him up there and battling the boys. You got Dax Bennett 12th. Almost didn't even make it in the wild card race. He goes down multiple times. Colin Park 11th. Levi Kitchen. Levi's doing Levi things. Did he quit on purpose? I don't know. We'll never know. I think it was a bike problem, but we'll never know. Max Ansey not even showed up. Oh, I will say this, and I probably will make a skit about this. We had a lot of injuries. All right. Like obviously Chase in 450s. I think that was the only, Chase Dillon in the 450 class, from my understanding. 250 guys. You had Deegan. You also had Jordan Smith crash. He obviously came back and still raced, but he still crashed, dislocated his shoulder. You had Max Anstie go out. He crashed. I think he finished the race though, but he crashed. Drew Adams, he crashed in Moto 1. Do you see the clip of the medical guy trying to put on his helmet? That was kind of funny. I don't know why they did that, but that was kind of funny. Cole Davies, he crashed out. Ryder D crashed out. Just so many guys went out, and it kind of freaking sucks, honestly. A horrible race to end the year for injuries, honestly, with a lot of the good guys too. But yeah, so that's kind of the 250 class summed up. Shout out to Joe for winning. Shout out to Deegan for making it entertaining for everybody, because it was definitely entertaining. Because without that, it might have been a boring race, honestly. 450 guys, Jett, Tomac, Hunter, phenomenal job. But now we got to talk a little bit about MXGP. For 450 for MXGP, nothing really happened. Lucas Coenen dominated the race, right? Febvre, though, won the championship. He won it in Moto 1. And honestly, he just rode great. He was in 4th place the entire race. He didn't really force anything. He just rode consistently, got the championship done. That's his 2nd championship and first ever for Kawasaki in the MXGP class, which is freaking sick. Now, I have a question for you, Scott. And I don't know how much you're keeping up for this, but for the 450 guys, Lucas Coenen, he looked like his normal self out there, all right? Dominating, style, swag. Do you think the last 2 rounds he kind of, conspiracy theory here, kind of sandbagged so that way he didn't win the championship, so that way he could race the 250 Supercross next year? Because if he did win the championship, he couldn't race a 250 in Supercross. He would have to do 450s according to the rule book. So, conspiracy theory or not?
I didn't know that I didn't know about those guys coming over to race 250 Supercross. I didn't know that was a thing.
So Lucas and Sasha potentially here are going to race a few rounds like Prado did a few years ago in the 250 class for KTM. And so that's kind of interesting. I don't know how that's going to work out. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if he wins, and don't get me wrong, like, Lucas can win. Watch that race in Australia. Watch that Moto 1. Go watch the 2 races prior to, what was it? It was Turkey and China. Go watch those 2 races, okay? And then go watch the race and then go watch this one. Completely different rider. I mean, 100% completely different rider. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, did he sandbag those 2 races just to put the points gap a little bit favorable for Febvre so he can race a 250 next year?
I don't know. I mean, it's very counter to pretty much any racer, especially at the professional level. I feel like that's very kind of counter, you know, I don't know the right word, but it's very kind of against their nature, I would say. Is it possible? Yes, absolutely. I think that Febvre just simply did what he needed to do. He rode consistently. He stayed where he needed to stay. Didn't do anything crazy. And kind of just like Ryan Dungey'd that thing and was basically Mr. Consistent and didn't take himself out of it. And so I think and I also want to give another little note as far as Fevre's championship. So Febvre hasn't won an MXGP championship. 10 years ago was his first MXGP championship, and that was when he was a rookie. So
a decade later. That's crazy.
It has been a whole decade later that he's gone and done this. Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I think that while he didn't go out and necessarily, light the world on fire these last couple rounds, like, I think that it just showed more of championship mindset, where he's like, I'm gonna do what I have to do because I've built this kind of gap. I've built this safety net for myself, and I'm not going to fall on the safety net, but I know that it's there, and I'm just going to kind of keep it close, keep it in my pocket just in case. And he just did what he needed to do. However, I do know that racing here in the States is exceptionally popular now, it seems like, for MXGP guys. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was the case, especially for 250, because I am sure that, moving up to 450, or having to race 450 Supercross would have been a much steeper challenge than going into 250.
I mean, so for your Febvre point, he was on the podium 16 out of the 20 rounds. That's Mr. Consistency right there, bro. That's insane.
That's some Ryan Dungey stuff right there,
dude. And this past round for Australia, they only did one moto. They called it after the first moto, so the second moto of 250s because of downpour. And the track was trash. All the riders was like, I don't want to race that thing. Like, don't put me out there, please. And so they just called the race. Understandable. The race is kind of over. So he didn't get a podium there, so that counts. So he was 16 out of 20 rounds where he's on the podium. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane to think about. But then going back to your 250 take for Supercross here, with Prado winning a championship, I think we saw the struggles of 450 Supercross for Prado, at least a little bit, right? Where he was struggling in the qualifying, he was struggling in the heat races. He had to go to LCQs. He crashes in practice. Like, it's a real. I'm not obviously a Supercross guy. You are, so you can answer this. But a 450 and a 250 on Supercross, I feel, are so different that, and even the racing. Like, for a 450, just think, you have to go against like Jett and everybody who doesn't make mistakes, man. And 250, you have guys that are so young that they will go and send it. We saw it all year. And I think it would be a better opportunity for Lucas on a 250 or even a Prado on a 250 than what we saw with Prado on a 450.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of notes to that. One, so 250, in most races, you're starting first, which means you get a fresh track, which means you're not having to deal with as many kind of like, dude. By the time 450 Group B goes out, that track is pretty hammered already. Um, and I think that when you obviously, as a newer Supercross rider, get to ride on smooth tracks, it is obviously way better. Because once supercross tracks get tricky, supercross tracks are already tricky enough. When you go and you start adding a bunch of kickers and ruts and all that kind of stuff, like things start to get a little hairy really fast. Especially like, for example, like in the whoops, newer riders and honestly just kind of most riders in general in supercross, um, you're gonna definitely want a fresh set over a beat set. I mean, I know that I would take a fresh set of whoops all freaking day long over a beat up set. Um, and so for guys, like for the brothers that, if they're wanting to come over here, that's I would definitely rather want to be on a 250. Um, I think that another point to make is 250 when you're racing a 250 on Supercross or just simply riding a 250 on Supercross. Any single time that you want to go for something big, you basically can count on it being wide open on a 250. A 450, if you try to do a few things, like there's quite a few scenarios where if you try to do something wide open, you are going to destroy yourself and you're going to end up in the bleachers with a hot dog and a beer. So it's, that's a very different type of racing. Uh, Racing a 450 on Supercross, you have to be exceptionally precise. And it's its own separate type of riding and racing anyway. So, I mean, and another point is like the guys that you're racing, the level in the 450 class is so high. You know, you have to think all the guys that aren't even necessarily, you know, in the top five. There's so many guys that are factory racers, or some guys that aren't even factory racers that are championship winners in the 250 class, or even potentially previous 450 championship guys, and race winners and all that. Like the level is insanely high in the 450 class. And even like the privateers, like I mean, not just obviously not just myself, but literally the guys that are privateers in 450 class that are contending for main events or getting into main events consistently, like, dude, they're fast. Like these guys are really fast. It's a very high level that you have to enter into initially. Um, I think a perfect example, for example, like why the 450 class is so hard. Think back to what was that? Anaheim won last year, 24, when Hunter didn't even make the main event because Cade Clayson blocked the line. Dude, you think that Cade Clayson or any other guy like that is gonna give in to anybody? Absolutely not. And the thing is that the level is so high, in the 450 class that there's really not a whole lot of room for, if 450 Supercross, if that's your first initial thing and you're not comfortable or you're making mistakes and stuff like that, dude, you're gonna get eaten up. Like much easier than 250. I feel like 250 is a little more forgiving track. Just in general, it's probably a safer and a little bit more of an enjoyable experience. And yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, looking at Prado's, experience, it's like, man, like I'm sure that they're looking at that, and anybody else that's in MXGP that's looking at that, and they're going, "Oof!" Like, uh, that's it's a lot. I mean, dude, racing a 450 on Supercross is a lot. You got to be on your game 100% of the time, and it takes riding a 250 on Supercross and a 450 is two different animals.
Even going
Just
back to A1 this year, Dylan didn't make it because he got taken
yeah,
out. I
yep,
forgot who took him out. I believe it was I can't remember, but he got taken out in the LCQ and didn't make it. So I
that's
mean,
it,
Dylan's
dude.
a top 10 guy, and
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean, he's a 450 motocross champion,
and he's a
and
250 champion.
yeah, yeah. Like that goes to show you. Like I'm sure that that's in the back of your mind.
Yeah, that's yeah. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. And from my understanding, Pulp said that they're racing Supercross this year. So, or
Oh,
they're racing a few rounds of Supercross this year. So I'm interested to see how that works out. I'm very, very interested. But now let's talk about the 250 guys. because there could be another guy that goes to say Supercross. I think a perfect example would be Kai. Like there was rumors that he was coming over this upcoming year to race Supercross and outdoors and everything. I don't know if that's actually going to be happening now. I think he's going to stay in mxgp this upcoming year, just with how everything in the US is kind of working out with KTM and Kawasaki from the rumors that I've heard. But this championship came down to the freaking last moto of the day, and honestly came down to a red flag. And let's start with the first moto of the day. Kai and Langenfelder, great start from both of them. They play a little mind game, you know. Kai tries to block his line. Langenfelder doesn't have it, gets by him. And you kind of saw some good racing with those two. A little cat and mouse during the moto. Langenfelder would gap him a little bit. Kai would reel him back in. And then vice versa, right? And then towards the second half of the race, maybe third part way through the race, Kai makes his move, takes him out before the triple. And that, I think personally, that move right there is so much different than, say, a kitchen move, right? Or even what Deegan was trying to do on Joe, right? It was just so much different because with Kai going for the line there, he makes the pass and the lines collide, right? He's in front of him. He 100% is in front of him. Did he kind of slow down? Yes, in a way. But Langenfelder got to know that that's coming, right? He knows he's behind him. He's outside. Yes. He can see him. He can slam on his brakes and not get taken out, right? And I think personally, Kai did it too late. If he wanted to make the championship interesting, which it did happen in the second race, right? But in the first moto, if he wanted to make it interesting, he needed to do that way earlier, because now he maybe couldn't have caught him way earlier. I get that 100%. However, if he was able to do it earlier, the gap from second to third wouldn't have been 17 seconds. So if he takes out Langenfelder in the halfway through the moto, maybe first quarter of the moto, you have 6 guys passing him, right? And now Langenfelder has to go through the pack with bent bars, and you have to go through all those guys once again, right? But since he did it so late in the moto, he's 17 seconds up. Langenfelder kind of got gifted that second place because he had that buffer, right?
Yep. That's kind of, you know, gives a bit of, you know, substance to, you know, when you do things in the race and how you race is really important. You know, if you're trying to create positions between you and the guy that's going for the championship, you want to do it when everybody's bunched together. And not only that, but when there's a lot of race left and there's a ton of guys that you got to get past, one, you're dipping into, you know, challenging your fitness. Two, you know, what if another rider just happens to do something weird? Like Langenfelder got together with another rider. I think that was in Moto 2, if I remember correctly.
Or even think about in Moto 1 with Sasha. He whips, he hits the back tire. His back tire hits Ferez. He goes down. Like, you don't know what could happen when you crash early in the motor, have to go through guys, right? And
yeah, exactly.
Like, and now, like, talking about Moto 2, because I said that he needed to do it earlier, Moto 2 broadcast didn't even start on time. I don't know what the hell happened there. It just like started late. So we didn't get to see the start. We didn't get to see the first like 6 minutes of the moto. But I guess in the first 6 minutes, Kai took him out before the mechanics. Like he did I wouldn't say clean. He definitely took him out. He got in front of him, brake checked him, and Langenfelder went down, right?
Yeah. He tapped the rear tire.
Yeah, he tapped the rear tire. Langenfelder goes, nothing crazy. He didn't like blow him out like Kitchen did, right? Nothing crazy. But he goes down. He gets bunched up. Torrential downpour all of a sudden happens from the sky. Langenfelder goes down again. Then he gets into another rider, and now he's 13th. Kai's in second place. The championship is over for Langenfelder, and the guide said, nope, not happening today, because Kai de Wolf's bike has a problem, and he couldn't finish the race, dude. How crazy is that you're in second, about to win the championship, and your bike gives out? Like, that feeling of like helplessness, because it's not even your fault. You did everything that you could have done in that last moto to make it work for you, and the bike just gives out. Insane.
Puts him on the ground in not a dramatic way, and you're forcing the other guy to do a bunch of stuff that is already going to make him feel flustered. So you're kind of setting, you're kind of stacking the deck at that point, against the guy that has to perform. And you're like, okay, I've done what I can do. I'm going to focus forward. And dude, it's devastating. Like dude, I cannot even imagine how bad that must have felt, because you can, a lot of times with, stuff like that, like what seemed like what was happening with his bike, it definitely seemed like he knew what was happening, at least for a small little bit before it finally just stopped. And it's like you feel like denial. And I'm sure that he was feeling that as it was happening. And red flag timing was a little
Yeah, I want to
little
get to
tricky.
that. I want to get to that because first, though, I think this is different than Deegan and Joe in Moto 2. Okay.
Yes.
The way
Yes.
I think of Deegan and Joe is, or the way I want to compare these. Okay. Kai did his pass on Langfelder in Moto 2 when he took him out, right? Not the first moto. The first moto was later in the moto. It was aggressive. Simon went down. He was still able to get second. In the second moto, when everybody's bunched up, Kai takes him out. However, it's different in my eyes than Joe and Deegan because Deegan slows up and forces the issue 4 times, right? He tries to take him out 4 times. Now, would we have seen that maybe in MXGP with Kai doing that with Langfelder? Possibly. We didn't get to see the first 6 minutes, so maybe he tried to do it a couple of times. But he got it done, and he just went on his way. And even in Moto 1, he made an attempt in the beginning, didn't work, he settled, and then he made his attempt, got out, and just rode his race. So I think that's a little bit different than what Deegan was trying to do with like taking him out, trying to take him out 3, 6, 4 times. Just a little bit different. In a way, it's kind of same, just a little bit different.
Yeah, letting somebody by you to hit them or riding behind you multiple times, that's where your focus is. That's definitely different than just being like, well, I can tell you're trying to go around the outside, and so I'm just going to take this shot, and then I'm going to go. Or, or you're fighting up through the pack, and you do it, and then you go.
Yeah, so I definitely think they're a little bit different, right? And then for the red flag, though, so this is crazy, okay? So the red flag came out after Kai's bike died. And if they did, and when his bike died, they did a whole other lap. So Langfelder passes him, and they do a whole other lap, right? And then I think they maybe did 2 whole laps in that time when his bike died and Langfelder passes him. If they pulled the red, and then they pulled the red flag 2 laps after his bike died, they pulled the red flag 1 lap prior, Kai wins, and Langfelder loses because they go to the lap prior for position, which is insane to think about. So the red flag, in a way, could have decided the championship. And I'm honestly happy. I'm gutted for Kai. I'm heartbroken for Kai that his bike broke. Do I want to see a red flag championship in that situation? Probably not. I think we would all probably just wanted to see Kai's bike not broke and then maybe a red flag or something like that. But yeah. I think Simon
the timing
also
made the difference.
Yeah, timing made the difference. But I also want to say Simon deserves it as well, right? He did really 100%. Well all year long. He rode very consistent, and I don't want to take away the fact that he did all that this year with this championship. He definitely deserves the championship. Kai, I love the guy. His starts were horrible, man. If he could have just started a little bit better and won more race, like China, bro, it could have made the difference. It 100% could have made the difference. However, we'll never know. And I'm still heartbroken that his bike broke. If his bike doesn't break and the race just finishes how it finishes, no matter what, no red flag, you let it happen. No matter if he wins, no matter if he loses a championship, just having the bike break is heartbroken. But you got to give it to Langfelder for withstanding everything Kai threw at him all day. Even in the qualifying all weekend, you got to give it to Langfelder for standing through. And I mentioned this in my reactions. I predicted Langfelder to fade, man. all the end of this year, I predicted him to fade, fade, fade. And what he does, he goes out and goes win, second place to finish the year. I mean, you got to give it to him.
Yeah, no, dude. I mean, that's the thing is he did what he needed to do. He withstood the attacks. Dude got cleaned in the first moto and the second moto. But he still, he built the points cushion, and just like Febvre, he he knew what he needed to do. And so you don't do anything crazy. Yeah, those moments did happen. And I'm sure that, during that time of the rain coming down, it's like, okay, I know I need to stay off the clutch. I know that I need to, let the bike lug a little bit. I know that I need to, make sure that this thing lasts. Not to say that Kai wasn't. But
I think maybe Kai too. Maybe he forced it too much with Sasha. Maybe he was using the bike too much in the rain. And, like, for your point there, possible. Right? And like he just overran the bike and then it kind of died on him, which freaking sucks, right? But like, that's a
nobody
thing.
wants to see that.
Yeah, so he's
kind of
crazy.
But Kai did everything that he could possibly do, and I think that's like you were saying, that's just a difference between what happened here versus what happened there. Kind of similar, but definitely executed differently. And Kai just did everything that he could possibly do. And at that point, the bike dying wasn't, obviously, a bike failure is a bike failure. And that's, it's hard to put a finger on it, hard to point a finger. But it's just something that can happen. And like you said, if he got better starts at one or two races, if he did, if he just didn't go down in a different race, like, it's small stuff like that. And it's the same thing like Tomac, get past Kenny in St. Louis, championship's different, all those things. What if you did this, or if this would have happened or that would have happened earlier in the year, but that's just not how it happened. And so you had guys that were going for the championship, they were consistent, and they withstood the attacks, they rode smart, rode consistently, and it paid off.
Yep. And like you just said, what if, but that's why we go racing, and
absolutely.
He didn't lose the championship because of a bike failure. Like, let's be real. Like, that's just an issue that everybody has. He lost the championship.
It's something that can happen.
He lost the championship because, like, just those tiny mistakes throughout the entire year. You got to remember, this is a 20-round championship, and it came down to the last moto. This could have been swung so differently for even Langenfelder or Kai if small mistakes don't happen throughout the entire year, right? And it's just crazy to say that it came down to literally one lap. It came down to one lap of the championship. Yeah. So
it came down. I'm about to spit some conspiracy, but it came down to KTM winning over Husqvarna.
Crazy. I don't know about that, but
I'm just messing around.
But honestly, MXGP, this was our first year kind of diving into it, at least for me. I watched it always, like, literally every year, watched highlights and stuff. But this was the first year we did reactions. We're talking about it, doing predictions and stuff. Next year, we're going to do the same exact thing. Is kind of what we're doing now. And, man, just a great year of racing. All season long. Great year of racing for MXGP. Great year of racing for Super Motocross. And I cannot wait for next year, dude. Like, it's going to be so freaking sick. I'm ready for designations. I'm a little sad now because our team kind of just got blown up. But it's still going to be great.
Dude, hey,
all right? It's still going to be great.
I think if they put Hammaker in for 250, that wouldn't be bad.
So Hammaker has shoulder surgery on Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did talk about that, didn't they?
Yeah, so he's out. I say they put Levi Kitchen in and let him take some Euro guys out. But that won't happen. But I did see from, I believe it was Lewis Phillips. He said Jay Coop, MX2, RJ Hampshire in the Open.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So, I mean, that's still a solid team. Don't get me wrong.
That
Jay
is.
Coop's
That,
won,
that is.
Tomac's won, RJ's on fire right now. That's a solid ass team.
Dude, Jay Coop on a 250 that's been proven to be pretty damn good.
I'm very sad. I mentioned this in our podcast a couple of weeks ago that this might be our last time to ever see Chase, Deegan, Tomac on Team USA as our best squad ever. And we're never even going to see it because Deegan's now hurt, Chase is hurt, and Tomac's retiring. So I'm bummed as hell for that. But yeah, we got that coming up in a couple weeks. I think Doc's going to be out for a couple weeks. So Scott might be here again for our prediction video.
Dude, I'm ready. I'm freaking ready for it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for that. That's going to be out here very soon. We want to say thank you guys so much for all the love on all the videos that we've been posting this year, man. This year has been special. Thank you for hitting the like button, hitting the sub button, watching 1 minute, 5 seconds, 30 seconds. It doesn't matter. Thank you guys so much for just watching with us, enjoying with us, and just enjoying racing. Like, we enjoy this stuff. We have a passion for it, and that's why we do it. And I'm very excited to see where this takes us next year. We're going to do some major things next year. And just thank you guys so much for all the love. Thank you, Scott, for coming on to this review. It's a long one, and I hope you guys enjoy it. We talked a lot. But now we got to get to some football. I got to go watch some football. My Cardinals are playing here in about 40 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But thank you guys so much for all the love.
Supercross is the best way to use stadiums. Go ahead and comment below if you agree.
I don't know about that one, but thank you guys so much for the love. Hit the like and sub button, and we'll catch you guys back here for the prediction video for MXM Nations. We're out. Peace.